Hi, in this video we'll look at what some of the key metrics are for integrated curriculum financial planning and how you can calculate them. And then crucially, we will look at how they all integrate. Enjoy. In the previous video, we saw that ICFP is all about balancing three things: your curriculum, your staffing, your budget. If any one of these is out of sync, it affects the others. So the aim of ICFP is to bring them into alignment, so your school can operate sustainably and deliver a strong educational experience. Central to this are metrics that bring all three together. There are four simple key ICFP metrics that we're going to explore today. Student-teacher ratio, which is based purely on staffing. Teacher contact ratio, based on both staffing and your curriculum. And the average class size and percent bonus, which are only based on your curriculum. All of them will be reflected in your budget, educational provision and staff wellbeing. Together, they give a really rich picture of how your school uses its resources. So what data do you need? The good news is that you only need three pieces of data to calculate these powerful metrics. Firstly, the number of students. Secondly, the full-time equivalent staff you have. For example, someone working 2 days a week is 0.4 FTE. And the number of teaching periods across your timetable cycle, which will usually be 1 or 2 weeks. That's it. For completeness, we will briefly look at where this data comes from. Most schools collect this using a simple spreadsheet. This overly simple example shows each year group the number of students and the number of lessons across different subjects. From something like this, you can instantly get the total number of students and the total teaching periods. You'd use a similar spreadsheet for your staffing. List each teacher, their FTE and how many lessons they teach. From this, you can calculate your total FTE and the total number of teaching periods delivered. From the combination of these two tables, you can work out which subjects need more or less staff. Let's start with the first metric, student-teacher ratio. This tells you how many students there are per teacher. It doesn't consider the curriculum at all. It's based purely on the number of students and total FTE. You calculate it by dividing the number of students by the total FTE. For example, if you have 1,012 students and 53.5 FTE, you get 18.92 students per teacher. All of these metrics we look at scale with school size, so you can compare different models, possibilities and schools. Next is the teacher contact ratio, which tells you what proportion of time teachers are actually in the classroom teaching. To calculate it, multiply your FTE by the number of teaching periods in your timetable cycle. That gives you the total available teaching time. Then divide the actual number of teaching periods delivered by that total. So in our hypothetical school, 1,192 teaching periods divided by 53.5 FTE times 30 periods gives 0.74 or 74%. So on average, teachers spend about 3/4 of their time teaching and the remaining time on planning, marking or leadership tasks. The third metric is average class size, and it's exactly what it sounds like. This is one metric that doesn't work accurately for sixth form without extra data, because their timetables vary so much. Alternatively, you can approximate it, but we won't go into that here. You take the number of students in the year groups you're measuring, usually Key Stage 3 and 4 for secondary, multiply by the number of periods in your timetable cycle and divide by the number of teaching periods those groups receive. In the example, 826 students with a 30-period cycle gives an average class size of 26.6. Finally, we have the percent bonus, which also won't work for sixth form, so leave any data pertaining to them out. This one sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. It shows how generous your curriculum is compared to a model where every class has 27 students. Here's how it works. Multiply the number of Key Stage 3-4 students by the number of periods in your cycle. Divide that by 27, and that's your minimum number of classes needed. Compare it with your actual number of teaching periods, and the difference, expressed as a percentage, is your bonus. In our example, the minimum number of periods, so we have classes of 27, is 917.8 periods. We actually have 932. These two will never line up completely because you can't have 0.8 of a class and for timetable reasons. The bonus then comes out at 1.5%. This lines up neatly with our average class size of 26.6, slightly smaller than 27. Now let's look at how these metrics interact. Imagine the head says, what happens if we hire another teacher and change nothing else? Here's what happens. The student-teacher ratio goes down. There are more teachers, meaning fewer students per teacher. The teacher contact ratio also goes down. The same number of classes shared among more staff. Average class size and percent bonus stay the same. The curriculum hasn't changed and there's still the same number of classes. Now imagine the head says, instead, what happens if we add an extra maths set? Student-teacher ratio stays the same, the staffing hasn't changed. The teacher contact ratio goes up this time, more classes to teach, but with the same number of teachers. Average class size goes down, as classes are now spread across more sets, and percent bonus goes up. You're providing more classes than the minimum. Finally, what if the head wants to do both? Hire another teacher and another set. The student-teacher ratio goes down because there are more staff. The average class size goes down, there are more sets. The percent bonus goes up because there's more curriculum provision. The teacher contact ratio, now this one's interesting. Hiring a teacher pushes it down, adding a set pushes it up. So the two effects partly cancel each other out. This is exactly the kind of interplay that ICFP is designed to help you model. So far, we've kept things intentionally simple, but ICFP can go much further. If you want to deepen your analysis, you could collect extra data to explore things like income per student and average cost per lesson. With this, you can calculate the theoretical curriculum you could afford. You could explore the distribution of management time, and PPA time, and ECT time, and compare these across the trust. Metrics can also be broken down by department. The breakdown of staff pay scales can be measured and analysed. Leadership structures, heads of year, subject leads, SLT roles, and their time allocated can be compared across the trust, taking into account the size of the school. Support staff ratios could be analysed. Even room utilisation. There's no real limit. It depends on what questions you want to answer. This is where good software becomes incredibly helpful. Tools like Waffle allow you to collect the data you want, adding columns to those overly simplified spreadsheets we saw earlier. You can create your own metrics and look at how those metrics change with various future scenarios. Instead of wrestling with multiple versions of spreadsheets and the errors that creep in, you can focus on insights and decision making. And that's the key point to end on. These metrics aren't the end goal. The real value comes from the conversations they spark, conversations about curriculum design, staffing balance, financial sustainability, and how to make the best choices for students. Thanks for watching. If you'd like a copy of the slides to use in your own training, click on the link in the description below. Watch out for more videos to come soon.